You either use the internet for fun or you use the internet to grow. You're here to grow. Welcome to TRS Clips. You came back from the US. You reversed the brain drain in a very big way. And today you're sitting in the cabinet. Is there a possibility for us to reverse brain drain? Like, would you actually like to send out a message to Indians who've left the country? Because I had at least 50% of my friends from engineering college left in order to either make more money or escape their families.
Ranveer, I'll give you two examples, okay? And this will be the two examples will be slightly long. First of all, you see today when Google and Meta laid off these thousands of people in the US, I had a video conference with some of them. And I said, but why aren't you coming back to India? And the opportunities are in India. And a lot of them are wanting to come back to India. It is clear in the tech space that the sunrise nation, if you want to call it, the rising nation in terms of opportunities is India. I'll give you another example. In an area like semiconductor, there's a gentleman called Jim Keller, who is the architect of Tesla's AI. Okay, Tesla's, everybody knows. He sets up two startups in semiconductor design for AI compute. Where does he set it up? In Bangalore. He doesn't set it up in Silicon Valley. He sets it up in Bangalore. The message and in a sense, the hawa is very clear that the center of gravity for the next 10 years of innovation, whichever area it is, quantum, semiconductor, the internet, Web3, crypto, India will be certainly, and Indians and startups in India will be a big force multiplier. So that reverse brain drain has, in my opinion, already started.
Okay.
Now, if you're retired and you're settled down in the US, they are going to settle down there anyway if you're 68. But if you're 35, you are starting out. People are choosing to start out now in India rather than go all the way to the US and be part of some large organization or small organization. So, in my opinion, the reverse brain drain recognition of India as the land of opportunity for innovation has already begun.
What do you feel in your heart about brain drain after having worked in the US?
Now, look, I certainly think that there was a time and a place for people to go abroad because there was no opportunity in India. And I use as an example what I put out in Parliament in 2012 that 97% of the Indian banking system's net worth was borrowed by 9 companies in India, 9 family companies in India. So, therefore, if you and I in 2012 wanted to start a business, also, you could not start it. So, for many young Indians, it seemed pre 2014 that यहाँ पे कुछ होगा नहीं. There is no opportunity for me here. I may be smart, I may have a lot of smart friends, but I can't do anything here. I cannot succeed here because I don't have the connections, I don't have the last name. That has changed dramatically. 100 unicorns, 100,000 startups, everybody being able to raise capital, building out the story, succeeding, failing, as the case may be. So I think my heart tells me, and I say this, I've visited 53 universities so far since I've become minister. I say with great confidence, this is the most exciting time to be a young Indian in the history of independent India. You are the luckiest guys and girls that India has since independence because you have opportunities, you have an enabling environment, you have capital. There is nothing to stop you from succeeding if you are working hard. Of course, if you don't work hard, then nothing can help you. But certainly, I believe the youngsters who watch your program are the luckiest generation in the history of independent India.
Yeah, thanks to big bros like yourself.
I don't know if it is big bros like ourselves, but certainly it's like a planetary alignment. जो कहते हैं ना horoscope में,
Yeah,
that
fair.
some things have happened. 2014, the country elected a prime minister who really believes in the future and potential of our young Indians, and we are where we are today, where the world looks at it with such awe and respect.
Yeah.
And awe and respect not just for the country, but awe and respect for every young Indian.
Yeah, I have so much to say about this whole reverse brain drain thing. I've mapped this out in my head a lot. I feel there are successful entrepreneurs already in India who can kind of create that first invite to a lot of the engineers, especially that we see abroad.
Mhm.
Because what we're lacking is not tech talent, but tech experience,
Mhm.
tech know how. You know, people who've already worked at big AI companies, who've studied, who've done the MS in AI,
Sure.
MS and all these other things that you can only study in the US.
Right.
Bring back those skills here. start technology companies here ideally,
Right.
and then help the country become richer and yourself become richer by exporting abroad. Is that, I know it's a very rudimentary way of putting all this, but is that
No,
the
but it's correct. It's not rudimentary. It's very basic and commonsensical that for a young person sitting, let's say in the US, who has deep knowledge about AI, there is no way he'll come to India and want to do an AI startup because he'll say, I'll do it in Silicon Valley. Why would I come to India? Unless there is a compelling argument for him to come to India. And we are creating that compelling argument that it is easy for you to raise capital. It is easy for you to have data sets, access to data sets. We easy to have connections with academic institutions and those who are really doing deep research in AI. So when we did India AI, what Prime Minister has announced in the budget, we didn't design it in the ministry.
Mm.
We created 5 groups which included startups, young students, professors, and industry, and told them to design India AI. So if you see in the next 2 weeks a big launch of India AI that talks about all these details of India and how exciting it is, I can certainly tell you, while I may be getting some credit for it, it has been done by a lot of young researchers, young startups who have said this is the way AI should be attractive, not just for themselves, but also for those who are sitting in the US who are specialists in the subject. Same thing we are doing for every area: quantum, semiconductor, all of these areas. I see today so much enthusiasm from those who are abroad, Indian diaspora in the space, deep tech space, to want to work in India, work with India. For example, I'll tell you, I talked about retired people. The number of retired semiconductor professionals who want to come now to India and teach young Indians.
Mm.
So reverse brain drain is not just about enterprise and startups. It's also about sharing knowledge,
Mm.
sharing experience. So we are now creating a adjunct professorship in all our higher education, where a retired semiconductor professional or retired quantum professional can come here and teach the young students about what he has done for the last 20 years in the US.
Yeah. Little controversial
Hmm.
statement,
Yeah.
but I have a lot of faith in private education institutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't have that kind of education, like when I
Mhm.
was in college. So things are changing, and I feel it boils down to very high level, higher education.
Right.
I will also say that as a podcast, I get to meet people from all sections of
Right.
society, and not everyone favors the current government. Mostly people do, and that's okay. I
Yeah.
think that is the nature of how
Yeah.
politics is
That's
in the country.
democracy. Yes.
People are not even willing sometimes to listen to the positives of the government. I dated someone I force myself to have a bit of a centrist perspective because I'm a media person, and I think I'm supposed to get all the sides of the argument. I dated someone who was against the government. And if I tried telling her that, listen, but as an entrepreneur, how I feel about being a part of Startup India, or just interacting with people, like I interacted with Sanjeev Sanyal. It was
Mhm.
so cool interacting with him
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
people like that are working in the government. So I'm hopeful about where India is going, but you'll never be able to convince that certain section of society. And I'm hoping that the podcast at least shed some light on the truth of what you guys are doing. It feels great to be an entrepreneur. Even I'm very hopeful about the 2020s and 2030s,
Right.
because I think collectively as a nation, we are becoming a lot richer,
Mhm.
which will up the quality of life, it will up the levels of education. New clips released at the same time that a podcast releases. This is TRS Clips. Make sure you subscribe.